Hello again, this is Jason, and we're going to cover Activity 2-9, defining power schemes. We're also going to cover a little bit about UPSs. The book describes one way. There's actually two ways to get to the power options. The first is, as the book describes, come to Control Panel. You have your power options. The second way is by right-clicking somewhere on the background. If it's similar to Windows XP, if you're used to doing this, right-click to Display Properties, Screensaver, and hit Power Options. This is the same at play. It's just two ways to get to the same thing. So we want to define turning off a monitor, turning off hard disks. Generally in a server, you're not going to turn off hard disks. You might find a reason to do it, but more than likely you will never. The system's always going to be caching. It's always going to be paging between RAM and the page file, so likelihood, or logging, or just whatever. But general operations, it's not likely that the disk will not be used. So the monitor is more likely what we're going to want to turn off. If it's a green star, Energy Star, or a green PC compliant device, once the video card turns off, which is actually what this does, it says after a certain amount of time, just turn off the signal from the video card. The monitor will realize that there's no signal, and that's when it goes into a power state. You might see that when your machine goes to sleep. And that's all we're really doing. We're just telling it, turn off the video card, the video signal. Not disabling the card, just turning off the signal, and that's going to therefore force the monitor into a low power state because it realizes that the card is no longer there. It'd be as if you turned off the machine, as far as the monitor is concerned. So we want to tailor this, and we want to say from home office, we'll say 1 hour. We want to save this as server. In this case, I'm going to say server 99. So that's our new power scheme. It's now been added. These are the standard, the first set you see, including max battery. And this is the one we just created. If we go switch back to this, you'll notice it's now after 20 minutes again, never. And each one of these are just predefined. You notice the settings change. Just like we did hardware profiles in the previous section, this is what we're doing here. We're just specifying for power. And that's really it. It's something useful. In most servers nowadays, you're going to find them either in a virtualized environment or you're going to find them in a rack mount environment hooked up to KVMs. You will have some servers that may have their own discrete monitor, a physical monitor hooked up to them, but most of them are going to usually be in a server farm, so you'll be accessing them remotely or through the network and remoting into them. So the setting of turning off the monitor might be irrelevant, but if you have a physical monitor, it's just something nice, so you can turn it off so you can prevent burn-in or save electricity. Now, UPSs. You notice this thing doesn't have a UPS. What we can do is we can tell it to specify, and here we could install through a software install program additional. We can go in, there are other sections in Windows where we can go and actually specify an addition. Now in this case, we're just wanting to set up a UPS. We don't have a real one, but we want to pretend like we do. So following on from 2.9 on page 77, just like we would come in through Control Panel, you can hit Power Options, and you can hit the third tab, which is UPS. And we want to tell it we're on COM 2. Well, we don't have a COM 2, but we'll say COM 1. And we want to, let's say, backup UPS. Finish. So now as far as this is concerned, we have a UPS. Of course, it won't find it, and being a serial device, it's not going to actively scan it. But we're going to now be able to configure our UPS settings. Why would you want to do this? If you have a UPS, main reason, of course, is to provide backup battery in the event that commercial power dies, or you have a brownout, power flickers. A UPS will give you a constant of power so your server doesn't brown out and therefore possibly corrupt data or crash hardware or reboot altogether, which will be catastrophic, especially if it's a domain controller. Take your domain down. We want to enable notifications. This will let us decide, after how many seconds before the machine shuts down, minutes embedded for a critical alarm, next computer is to shut down. And that's exactly what it is. This is just being able to define your tolerances between how long it's going to start sending alerts, and you can set that up to send alerts via email, text, whatever, depending upon management software. For example, here, configure. What do we want it to do? Well, we could start scripting and tell it to run a certain program that, say, can send send a text message or an SMS message to a phone to say, hey, the server's going down, or that can send it to another managing server. That's a little bit beyond with this, but this is just where you would actually set that up. So you can have this thing, when it realizes that power's out, it can alert somebody or something that then can alert a master control, an administrator, to take action, to come over here and see what's going on. You're going to be limited by the size of the UPS, so you just want to keep that in mind. And in this case, it's saying seconds, but that's where your options are to do that. This concludes our tutorial.